Hi, this is Richard Blade, and you're listening to the Blue Zone Podcast Network as it presents Permanent Record, an in-depth look at the classic albums of the 70s and 80s, albums which have earned a permanent place of honor, both in our hearts and in our record collections.
Welcome, everybody. It's the Permanent Record Podcast. We are back and ready to go. This is episode 48, maybe?
48? No, we're more like 60.
Oh, that's what I meant, 68?
Yeah, 69 even, I think.
This is Brian. I'm here with you once again.
Yes, and I'm Sarah, and I'm here once again as well.
And if you follow us on the social media, you're aware of the fact that technologically we had some issues this weekend, and I kind of tipped my hand to why I said this episode was going to be special. It's because we are once again joined by our friend from the home of Pete Burns, Liverpool. We are joined by Mr. Andrew Dineley, who is here to talk with us today about a great 1988 album. How's it going, Andrew?
It's going great. This is Europe calling. Hello, America.
Hello.
It's good to be back again.
It's great that you were able to make time to come on and talk with us again.
Yeah, it's always fun. I'm glad you managed to get all the technology working.
The studio looks very dangerous right now. There's wires everywhere and a big old-fashioned tower computer and a big monitor, but we're good to go. We can hear you.
It's not your vintage Macintosh computer then?
No, that one's still sitting in the corner waiting for me to fix the power supply on it. I predict maybe that's never going to get done.
Oh.
But we are here today. Well, first, before we get anywhere, I want to congratulate once again Heath Grannis.
Oh, may I congratulate him as well since he won my contest?
Oh, you certainly can.
Sarah's Secret Song Snippet Star of the Week.
Feel free. I just took ownership because I wrote it on this piece of paper.
Oh, right. Okay. It's my contest, and he won it. And once again, he won it. This is the second time, and I think the second week in a row that he won.
Oh, yeah. He was a DJ in New York City back in the day, and he knows his music.
Yeah, and that's a good thing. And we really appreciate him writing in and getting the answer correct. And the answer was...
Oh, now you need my help. Go ahead, Sarah. It's your contest.
Yeah, I know it is. Which one was this? We've done so many now. I can't remember. I honestly don't know.
Oh, well, when you remember, you can mention it.
Oh, all right.
All right. So congratulations, Heath.
That's terrible.
All right. So we are here with Andrew Dineley, like we said. He is the host of his own podcast, a podcast called Art on Your Sleeve. And episode 7 just came out right at the end of the summer, mid-August. And that was a great episode. Andrew, I really enjoyed that one. And that was with Peter Ashworth.
It was. Peter was a really interesting man to interview because he's so much part of pop history, particularly sort of the 80s and 90s, and he photographed so many of the artists that I love, Frankie Goes to Hollywood and Dead or Alive, all of them really, and to actually be with him and spend, I probably could have spent the whole day with him because he knows how to talk. But I ended up spending about 4 hours with him, which was edited down to about 90 minutes. And the stories he's got to tell were really interesting. And just seeing that art close up as well was a real treat.
That must have been great. And I hate the fact that I know now that there was so much conversation that ended up on the cutting room floor.
Yeah, I mean, that was down to Peter on this occasion. Normally, as you know, you have to edit things anyway. I did a cut of it that was about an hour and 10 minutes and sent it to him for his approval, and he chopped about 20 minutes out because he said some quite candid things that he was worried he'd get sued for.
Oh, really?
That's not the first time you've had to worry about that, is it?
That's what's lovely in one way, that people feel that they can be so honest. But, when things are going in print, they obviously get a chance to edit that. And I think it's even worse when it's the spoken word. So, yeah, Peter was probably quite rightfully justified in wanting certain things taken out. But I didn't think they were that bad. But he was like, oh, no, I don't want people to know I said that.
Well, the one thing I'm glad that stayed in was his retelling of the photo sessions for the Dead or Alive Sophisticated Boom Boom cover.
Yes, yeah. Seeing that original photograph in the show was nice as well because it was before the graphic designers had done what they did to that record sleeve, which is a bit clumsy, I think. They kind of did a cutout thing and he agreed, I think, didn't he? He said it looked a bit clumsy.
Yep.
So it was nice to see the actual original photograph without the design elements and the typography on there. It was still a bit blurry, though. It was interesting what he was saying about Pete Burns wanting it to have a sort of blurry quality because he was not entirely happy about the way he looked.
That was, I guess, the story of Pete Burns' his entire life.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I think so.
But that is a great cover. Other than Mad, Bad, and Dangerous to Know, that's probably my favorite Dead or Alive cover.
Yeah, I mean, he's such an incredible character anyway, isn't he? That he always looked I imagine when he went to buy his milk and toilet rolls, he looked fantastic.
Right. Never a hair out of place or where it needed to be.
So, Sarah, it was your idea to talk about this particular album.
Right. If we're keeping with a common theme we've had this year is revisiting albums that are having their 30th anniversary or 35th. I don't know that we ever did any 35th, but we definitely have done some 30th. And this album in particular, just recently, within the last week or so, celebrated its 30th anniversary of release. And the album is Introspective.
By the Pet Shop Boys.
By the Pet Shop Boys, yes.
That is a great one. And this album, like you said, it was released on October 10th.
Correct.
So a little more than a week ago. And that was back in 1988. Do you remember back in 1988, Andrew?
Oh, yeah. I was just a little boy back in 1988. Yeah, I remember it well. I remember this album coming out. I was so into the Pet Shop Boys at this time. And I remember buying it on the day it came out. I got a free plastic bag with the design on it and a window sticker as well, free with my copy.
What?
Oh,
Yeah,
once again, you
I know.
guys are getting more than we did in America.
Yeah.
I think that was, I don't think that was like a national thing though. I think it was just really, I think just one or two shops had these, just happened to be in the right place at the right time.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
I think the window stickers particularly are very collectible now.
Oh, I hope you didn't put it on a window that you weren't able to retrieve later.
I didn't. It's still in pristine condition.
Nice.
Wonderful.
So I guess a lot of other people in the UK must have gone out and got it.
For sure.
Opening week there because it peaked at number 2 in the UK charts.
It did, and it was actually their highest selling album, wasn't it? Up to that point as well.
Correct.
That's correct, yep.
Yeah.
So in Switzerland also sent it to number 2, number 3 in Germany and Spain,
Right.
number 5 in Sweden,
Uh-huh.
and in the United States, it peaked at number 34.
Yeah.
You don't know a good song when you hear one, do you?
I know. I know.
It seems to be the case, yeah.
So it also did really well in the end of the year UK charts. It finished at number 24 for the year of 1988.
Right. And what's interesting to me is that it made the year-end charts in 1989 for Canada and in Germany.
Yes, it did.
That was so strange because in Canada, it only got to 68 on the album charts.
I know. And it was
So-
end of the year, it was like 70-something.
It was 73,
Yeah.
for the end of the year in 1989.
I was trying to puzzle that out of my brain. I guess maybe it had something to do with the number of weeks it was in the chart because it didn't get all that high.
Right. I don't know what that was all about.
So does anyone know why the album never really managed to hit number 1 in the UK?
I do.
I don't. No,
What also came out that week?
Oh, it's going to be something terrible, isn't it? Like Barry Manilow or something.
Yeah, everyone was really into Barry Manilow in 1988. No, it was something a little more iconic, I guess you could say.
It's pretty iconic.
Yeah, it would be a little number called Rattle and Hum by U2.
Ah, right.
Yep,
Okay.
and that record ended up setting records for its first week sales. So
Right.
you can't blame the Pet Shop Boys.
Oh, no, but that was their second run of bad luck with album release dates because this was the second time that they missed the number 1 spot because with Actually, they also missed being number 1 and it was due to Michael Jackson's Bad.
That's right. Released the
So-
same day. So timing is everything, I guess.
It is.
I wonder if that's why the Pet Shop Boys picked on them for the allegedly how can you expect to be taken seriously was a kind of jab at Bono, wasn't it, in his charitable work, and then they did that Where the Streets Have No Name, very
Oh,
camp
right.
version as well. I wonder if that was their revenge.
Yeah, the passive aggressive. We'll show you.
I love that version of Where the Streets Have No Name.
Oh, I do
if I
too.
wrote that song, I would be honored that they reinterpreted it in such a cool way.
Yeah, I think it's great. I prefer it to the U2 version. The story goes, doesn't it, that Bono sent them a bouquet of flowers, didn't he, with What Have I Done to Deserve It?
Yep, that's what I read. That is pretty funny. This album is interesting because, unlike any other album I can think of, the concept of this record was to write really long 7 to 9 minute extended versions of songs and then have them edited down for single release, which is something that I can't think of anybody else who's ever done. Everyone else does the reverse of that.
Right. They
Yeah.
basically flipped the script, as we say nowadays.
Yeah, I think it's because at that time as well, the club culture was so big. It was acid house was very big here. I'm speaking from the UK, it was very big, and they were very into clubbing at that time. And these songs were all very dancey songs and were written for the dance floor. And the idea with that was to stay on the dance floor as long as possible. So maybe that's what was sort of fueling that concept.
Oh, definitely. I would agree.
Another goal that they had was they wanted to release an album where every song was a single, and they almost succeed in doing that here. But right out of the gate, they kind of shot themselves in the foot with one of the tracks that they really wanted to include. So they never really could have achieved that goal, and we'll talk about that when we get to that song.
Ooh, the mystery deepens.
One thing that I was excited to find out about the album is they actually started working on it sort of as the prior album actually was kind of winding down, petering off, and the first song actually recorded for this album was the song I Get Excited, You Get Excited Too, which is one of my very favorite Pet Shop Boys B-sides. I first heard it as part of the Alternative collection.
Okay.
There was an album called Alternative. Do you
Yep.
have that in the UK? Or is that
Yes.
Okay. And that was like a B-sides collection. And then now with the further listening, I have it on this album like it was intended to be. I think that's one of their best dance songs. I've always wondered why that was relegated to B-side status because I think it's really strong.
Yeah, I enjoy that song as well.
They were just so prolific, though, weren't they? Well, they still are. You know, they write much more than they need to for each album. You know, I mean, with their new album, that's allegedly written more than 20 songs for that, and it's probably going to have 10 on it. So they've always got so much leftover material.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This new album, is it with a new producer?
No, it's supposed to be the third, isn't it, in the trilogy after Electric and Super? It's with Stuart Price.
Oh,
again.
awesome. That's great.
Yeah.
Because those last two albums are two of their best, I think.
I like them, but I'm ready for something different now. I mean, I think whatever they do will be interesting, but for me, I hope the new album's a bit different.
Oh, really? I've been really enjoying them. Oh, and the point that I was trying to make, so the reason that I Get Excited isn't on this album is
Yeah.
because as Actually was winding down, they needed a song for the B-side of Heart. Heart was the final single released from that,
Oh,
and
right.
they needed the B-side, so they just used that song as the
Okay,
B-side.
because they already had it ready.
Right.
Huh. Well, it's still interesting to me. Just because it was a B-side doesn't mean it couldn't be on this album.
Well,
true.
I Want a Dog was on, wasn't it?
Yep,
Exactly.
that's right. So, and another thing of interest to me for this album, and we've seen this a couple times, I guess, over the course of the show, but we get, kind of like a mixed bag of producers.
There are 7 different producers on this album. I cannot believe that. And I think it's unusual because not only that's a lot of producers, but I've read that on the previous album, actually, there were a lot of producers, and Neil has kind of thought that maybe that made the album feel less cohesive. They continued on with that and even added more producers to the mix.
And I don't think that you can hear that in this record. I think if you didn't know how many producers there were, you would never have that thought.
No, I think it's because they're so involved with the sound as well. And if they're the kind of common link, aren't they? So you can work with different producers, but if you're still very much directing the sound or, part of the whole process, you can give it that sort of sonic cohesiveness.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And they did co-produce almost all of the songs along with these other people. So it does help to make it more cohesive.
Yeah. Do you, Andrew, hear a lack of cohesion on Actually when you listen to it?
No, I don't actually. I mean, obviously there's very different styles on there with something to mention Heart. And if you compare that to something like It Couldn't Happen Here, which is very filmic and orchestral, they're very different in style, but they've always been about that anyway. They've always mixed it up. And that's what I think makes their albums interesting and why the more recent albums aren't as interesting for me, because they are much more, whilst there is some variation, it's not as pronounced as the earlier albums. And I like that mix up, really.
Another thing that's sort of different about this album from other albums that they've done or other albums in general is that only 2 songs were written specifically for this album. And that was Left to My Own Devices and Domino Dancing.
So where did the other songs come from?
Well, a lot of them were covers. In fact, I'd say all of them were covers, except for when they were actually covering themselves.
All right, that's interesting. Not a lot of original material here. One thing I found that I thought was interesting was that the album wasn't always to be called Introspective.
Oh, right.
An early title that lasted quite a ways through the whole process, the album was going to be called Bounce.
Oh, really?
Did you guys know that?
Yes.
And the reason that they were calling it Bounce was because people told them that they wrote bouncy bass lines, which is true.
Oh, yeah, I would agree.
The bass lines on this album especially are incredible.
Yeah, they have a very rubber band kind of quality to them.
But they said they even wrote a song called Bounce. They have never really properly recorded it beyond like a demo recording.
It is out there. You can hear. I think it's on YouTube if you want to hear
Oh, really?
it. Yeah.
Have you heard it?
I have heard it, yeah. It's an okay song. You can see why it probably didn't ever get, made to a proper studio version, but it's interesting. But I've got a thing from, I think it was Smash Hits or Number One magazine, and Chris Lowe talks about that as well, about the fact that there's a new dance album coming out in October, and he says, we haven't quite decided upon the title for it yet, but we've had a few ideas. One of them was called At Home because it's a house record. And then another one was Hello. And we've had a whole list of them, but probably likely to be calling it Bounce, simply because if you go out to a club these days, everyone seems to be bouncing instead of dancing. There's another sort of reason to call it that as well.
That's awesome. Wonderful.
So why did they ultimately decide on Introspective? Do we know that?
We do, don't we? We do, because it was just because the songs were all introspective in tone.
Right. We'll just use a word that describes the songs.
Yeah.
So you mentioned house music. This was the big influence for this album. And
yeah, definitely.
And I have a little bit of history on house music and how it started and who was involved. Just because early in the summer we talked about freestyle and that music and how that kind of came about. And we kind of got an education on that. So I thought, well, we should learn about house music as well, because it's definitely a factor here.
That sounds good.
House music started in Chicago in clubs basically in the early 80s, and it's driven by drum machine beats in 4/4 time. So that's like right up your alley, Brian.
Oh, yeah.
And drum machine. And it's kind of like disco, but it's a little more minimal, mechanical, and repetitive. And there's definitely an emphasis on the bass drum, which is also known as the kick drum, and deep bass lines, which we definitely hear on this album. Frankie Knuckles was a DJ at a Chicago dance club called The Warehouse, and he became known as the godfather of house music because he was the DJ at The Warehouse. That's kind of how the term house music originated, because it was The Warehouse.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
Yeah. Something else I want to mention about house music was a big aspect of the songs is called the breakdown. And that's where they kind of, break down the elements of the song, usually down to a very kind of minimal skeletal level. And then they let that go for a while. And then usually they build it right back up again and kind of bring it back to the full original version of the song, or maybe a slightly different version. But the breakdown is going to come into play a lot in these songs. And I think we'll want to talk about that as we go along as well.
It's interesting as well because around the Pet Shop Boys on this album worked with, they did the cover version of the Sterling Void song, and he was a big house music artist. In fact, that's where that track came from, but we'll get to that later. But also people like Marshall Jefferson, who was part of the house scene as well and remixed songs for them as well. So they were big fans of that whole sort of circle of DJs that came from the house movement.
Yeah, so that's how they got involved in making this album. They said, hey, we like your music. Can you help us make some of our own?
Yeah, and Frankie Knuckles was a huge DJ at that time. He was, one of the number one DJs that people wanted. So they were lucky to get him, really.
I always think that, if a group as massive as the Pet Shop Boys want to work with somebody, there's no way it's not going to happen.
I think it's not always down to whether people like someone or want to work. It's down to logistics of things as well. When you've got major artists wanting to work with other major artists, they've got often itineraries that are booked up months and months and months in advance, and getting them to actually overlap isn't as easy as you might think. And I remember having this conversation with Tom Watkins, who was their manager at the time, is a friend of mine. I remember sort of having a similar conversation with him about it, and he was like, it was really hard to make the Liza Minnelli thing happen because she was really busy and they were really busy, but somehow they did make it happen. But often it's just down to practicalities that you can't actually line people's diaries up.
Yeah, I never thought about that.
That's a good point. People in demand.
Yeah.
All right, so Neil said at the time, I think that this is our Imperial album, the one where we felt making it that we understood the essence of pop music, and so we could do whatever we liked. I love seeing that confidence from him. Man, whenever we did our podcast on Actually...
Yeah, that's way back in episodes 3 and 4.
It was a long time ago. I went into that saying that Behavior was my favorite Pet Shop Boys album. And then after spending a week listening to Actually and learning about it and stuff, I was like, you know what? I think Actually is my favorite after all. But regardless of what is my favorite, that time period, these few years here, you get Actually, you get Behavior. They're both amazing. And this stuck in the middle here, you're apt to think, well, they had 2 great albums. This album... It only has 6 songs. It has that song on it, Always on My Mind, that they already released. This is probably more of a throwaway album, but as you listen to it, it's super impressive. This is a great album as well, and I think you sometimes forget that just because of the makeup of the album itself.
Right.
They were amazing at this point in time. They're still amazing, but man, they were writing such strong songs, and they really could do no wrong.
I'd agree with that. Yeah, I think it's just 6 songs, but 6 fabulous songs.
Yeah, is Neil the person who actually coined the phrase "Imperial phase"?
Yes, he did. Music? Yeah, and it's a funny one, isn't it? Because I never really know how to interpret that. Whether that means is that about the fact that they were having so many number ones, or is it about the quality of the songwriting? Because the two don't necessarily always go together.
For sure.
And they would agree with that because that Being Boring and Love Comes Quickly are their favourite singles, but did poorly in the charts. So yeah, I think it's the Imperial phase thing is I think as much about chart positions as it is about the songwriting.
That is interesting. I have often wondered that myself. We talked about that a little bit this week.
Right.
But I think every band has that, don't they? So if you look at where a band starts and where it ends up, they'll start off with lower chart positions, and then usually this is the case, then they'll have hits, and then they'll have number ones, and then there'll be a trail off. Last time we spoke, we did Erasure. They've had a similar sort of trajectory as well. They had a slower start, and then they had top 5 hits, and then there was a trail off. So I think everyone has their Imperial phase, but
Right.
I think that is definitely Neil's phrase. It's very Neil Tennant, isn't it?
Oh,
yeah,
for sure.
no, very much. The only time bands don't do that is when they just
Never really
break
do.
up for some
Yeah.
reason, like the Beatles or Queen.
Yeah.
Yes.
They have
Yeah.
hits all the way to the end.
And the Pet Shop Boys did have hits. They didn't have a big build-up. West End Girls was only it was a very early single, but it was still a gradual fade in, and they were just lucky to have a number one so early on. And then you can ride on the success of that single with publicity and stuff. If you've got good management, they can capitalize on that for you.
Exactly.
Okay, so I think we all agreed as we did our research on this that the booklet that comes along with the Introspective Further Listening re-release is an amazing wealth of information.
Oh, yeah.
The whole book, more or less, is an interview with Chris and Neil as they talk about each song on the album, and they're so funny.
Oh, I know.
It's so funny to read. So this is actually just something I stole right from the book, so I just wanted to read this. They're talking about how the re-release of the record fixes one error with the original release.
Oh.
Chris says, the new version of Introspective does correct one error. The original sleeve states that the total length of the album's songs is 50 minutes and 3 seconds. In fact, it is 48 minutes and 3 seconds. I added the times up wrongly, Neil confesses. Neil didn't realize there were 60 seconds in a minute, Chris notes. Neil nods. I forgot that, he agrees. It is written so perfectly. You can picture him kind of shaking his head and
nodding.
a little bit of shame there.
Oh my gosh.
They just crack me up in all these books. They're so funny. It's worth buying the re-releases to read those books, even if it's an album you don't really like.
Yeah, just read their comments and their the repartee that they have. It's amazing.
Yep.
When I was doing some research for this show, I watched the pop art videos, the video collection of all the singles, and I thought there might be some interesting content in the audio stuff, when they talk over the tracks.
Uh-huh.
For these songs, there wasn't in particularly anything that I could use, but it was just really funny the way that they are with each other. Is hilarious. They are like a double act, a comedy double act.
Straight man. And,
If you've never listened to the audio stuff on that DVD, it really is worth it.
All right, so we have Andrew here with us today, so we, of course, have to touch on the graphic design, the artwork, and everything for this
packaging.
record. Yep, the packaging.
Yes.
Andrew, the one thing I need to make sure you address, because I've always wondered this my whole life, why the first 2 albums were so white and pristine, and then when I got this third album, all of a sudden, I'm having an onslaught of colors right in my face here.
I think it's for that exact reason, isn't it? They often like to do something that's very different to what went before. And I know that they didn't do that with the first 2 albums, but that was the intention. It actually wasn't supposed to have been another white record cover. It was originally going to be an oil painting of them, in contrast to Please's minimalism. But they didn't do that and ended up doing another white one. So I think by the third album, it was like, right, we really do need to do something different here. And so I think it was a reaction against that. So the fact that you had 2 albums with photographs and lots of white space, and then suddenly there's no photograph and no white space. So it's all just about a kind of visual contrast.
Gotcha.
And I love that because the packaging and the picture that you see visually works very well with what they were achieving musically, because this album is flipped on its side from a regular album. It's all a bunch of extended tracks. So it's the opposite of what has come before and what is expected. And so the packaging goes right along with that.
Yeah, and I think it also stood out at the time as well. I remember when I went to buy it, and I don't think I was aware of what the album sleeve was like, because obviously we didn't have the internet and things. But I remember going into the shop and almost knowing that was it. It was like, oh, that colourful thing, it must be the new Pet Shop Boys album.
Oh, really? I probably would have looked right past it.
So that can't be it, because it's not white.
I think it's because it looks like a Peter Saville record cover as well, with those blocks of colour. And Mark Farrow is a fan of Peter Saville's work.
Didn't Mark Farrow work at Factory too?
He did some factory records sleeves, yes. Yeah, because he was based in Manchester at first, yeah, before he went to London. But it's an interesting story about how that sleeve came together. Mark Farrer and also Peter Saville, for a lot of their design work, what they do is reference existing books or objects or, any kind of ephemera, really, and take that design to inform the record sleeve. So you see that on other record sleeves that we'll come on to later when we're talking about particular songs. But with this one, they were basically just looking for colours to use, and the colours that happened to be all together in the sample book looked great together, and they were just, okay, that'll do. That's the sleeve. And I know that Neil Tennant and Chris Lowe don't particularly like this sleeve. It's that they don't think it's one of their best. I remember Tom Watkins telling me that he really liked it. He thought it was one of the strongest because it was one of the most different. The fact that they're not on it as well really makes it seem different to everything else. And he's been reported as saying about, every time someone saw the test card on the television, it would be almost like a subliminal advert for people to go and buy it. When I was talking to him, he said that then as well. So it's a genuine quote.
Oh, that's awesome. I saw that as well. I wondered, it does look like a test pattern on our old television sets. And I wondered, well, did you in England have the same kind of test patterns?
Yeah, we did. And it does look just like that, but it never was supposed to be that. I don't think it was always just, a series of colours that were lined up, and it just worked. And there were a few different combinations of it that they split across the various releases for CD, for the limited edition vinyl, for the cassette. Each had its own unique set of colours, which I think is a really nice touch as well, because with previous albums, there was the standard artwork across everything. So I quite like that. Whilst it's a much simpler way of doing it, there's a complexity to it in that, there was a variation across the different formats.
That's a great idea, and that was something I wasn't aware of until I researched this. I have the vinyl and I have the CD, but I never realized they were different.
Yeah, and then I think the cassette is really different. Like, there's not quite as much of a difference between the album and the CD, but the cassette colors, I think, are quite different. But
and also the number of stripes as well changes. I think certainly on the limited edition album, there were 6 stripes to represent the 6 songs, whereas on the standard album, so this is really geeky stuff, isn't it now? On the standard album, I think there was 7. Yeah, there were 7 colours on that.
Interesting.
I guess test patterns don't even exist anymore because TV channels don't go off the air, right?
You still have them when I'm doing video editing. You can put one up just as like a colour thing at the start, just so you can make sure all your colours are showing properly on your screen. So you have like a colour test card that you put in there for that. But no, I haven't seen one on a television in a long time.
Right. They're still used in production, but you don't see them on a regular television set.
Yeah.
I saw somewhere that Neil said this was the first time he really thought of the artwork being for a CD.
Oh, yeah.
As opposed to like an album.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was interesting. I guess 88. That's probably around the time I was first introduced to CDs. What was actually the first CD I ever listened to was Actually. So.
Oh, all right.
It was roughly that same time period. When did you make the transition from albums and cassettes to CDs, Andrew?
I think it was a year later, and it was for really superficial reasons. It was because I preferred the physical format of a 12-inch record. I just thought the idea of a compact disc and its little, tiny square just never felt as interesting or as alluring to me. I'd often buy records because I liked the cover of them. Not only because I liked the cover, but if it had a great cover, that was, that'd make me buy it. And I never got that same thrill with CDs, really, just because it's such a small format. It's about a quarter of the size, isn't it? So I bought Introspective on vinyl when it came out, and I think probably a year later I was into CDs, and I rebought it as a CD then.
So, Andrew, you mentioned there was like a limited edition cover with just 6 stripes. I don't know what that is.
When the album came out, there was a version of it where it's easier to see than it is to explain. So the 6 tracks of the album were split across 3 pieces of vinyl. So it was 1 song on each side. And each of them had a large label with a sort of exclusive picture relative to that song. So the Left to My Own Devices one, for instance, had a picture with the cover of the single of Left to My Own Devices. And It's All Right had a picture of them with a baby, which referenced the video and stuff.
Oh, we love those babies.
Yeah, they're very cute. But that was a very limited edition one. And it was that they talked at the time about it being influenced by imports that they'd seen from Italy. But I remember it also a bit earlier than that, in the very early 80s, there were lots of Japanese 12-inch singles that came out with that same big cutout and large label. And the Pet Shop Boys one, they call it a belly band that wraps around it to keep the sleeves inside. And the Japanese ones have an obi strip down the side. So like basically just a piece of paper that has additional information on there, like the album title and the artist, etc. And I was a big fan of those. They were really collectible. And so I was gutted at the time that I was never, when the album came out, I wasn't aware of this limited edition. So I bought the standard version. But yeah, it's quite collectible now.
So you never managed to get one?
I didn't, and now I'm not the completist that I once was, so I haven't tried to get one. But it's a nice thing, and you do see them out there. But no, I'm not that desperate for one. Although there was a limited edition of 10 clear vinyl ones, which is worth about £10,000 if you can get one. I'd like one. If someone's listening and has a spare one, I'll have that.
Oh, yeah.
All right, we'll have it shipped right over.
But I'll give you a photograph of it, and if you can put it into the show notes, then
oh, absolutely.
Yep, definitely.
Yeah. Looking for this.
Yeah. Okay, so Mark Farrow,
yes.
the designer, he's done a number of album covers with the Pet Shop Boys.
Oh, yeah.
Some of my favorite ones, actually. And the one that I never saw before that I really, really liked was Format.
Yeah, it's a weird one, isn't it? Do you know what's going on there with that image?
It's another one that has a bunch of colored stripes on it. Not as much, not as many as this, but it actually is all the singles that are included on the compilation, their spines, the color of their spines, and he stacked them on top of each other. So it's just like to replicate the colors that you would see when you would group all the singles together.
Oh,
is that
my
correct?
Goodness.
Yeah, with lots of white space as well.
Yeah, right, lots of white space. So it looks awesome. That was a great cover.
Yeah, and it comes in a lovely little box as well. Can't go wrong with a nice box.
Right.
And that's one I've never heard of Format. It's just an early compilation, like hits compilation?
Oh no, it's so earlier you mentioned the album Alternative with all of the B-sides on.
Right.
It's the follow-up to that, so it's all of the B-sides that aren't on that album.
Oh, really?
So that's the first set of B-sides, and then Format is the second set of B-sides, and I think we're probably going to get a third set probably in the next year or so, hopefully, because there's enough now to justify a third collection of songs. Yeah.
Wow, I wonder if we got that one in America. We have Alternative because I have that. But
yeah, so do we need to look into this?
You think I would have bought that if it was available?
Yeah. We might
you definitely need it. It's a lovely album. As we said earlier, some of their B-sides are some of their best songs.
Oh, definitely. So I have a lot of reviews for this album. I was very happy to find a lot of archival information about this album when it was released. I always like that stuff better than the looking back, just because I like to know where did this fit in at the time. The first one I have is from the Los Angeles Times, believe it or not. It's from Dennis Hunt. It was from November 13th, and he gives this album 3.5 stars out of 4.
Oh, nice.
So that was very good. I'll just read a couple of sentences from his review. It's a nice long review, but I don't want to, go on too long about it. But he starts off by saying, Britain's Pet Shop Boys specialize in dark, brooding dance music. Thinking man's dance music, if you will. They give you strong rhythms, but scuttle the usual fun frothiness in favor of moody, cynical lyrics. None of that dance with me, baby nonsense for these guys. Introspective is the duo's best work yet, and quite possibly the dance music album of the year. As usual, Neil Tennant and Chris Lowe managed to stretch the limits of dance music without tampering with its essential funkiness.
Very good.
Yeah, and they go on, but that's enough for get the idea that, yes, he really likes this album. The next one I have is from Robert Christgau, and he's the one that did a lot of reviews for The Village Voice, and he's pretty harsh. He's usually very acerbic with his comments, and he gives this an A-, which is really high in his book, and I'm going to read his whole thing because it's not too long. So he starts off, what a cerebral band. If they keep on at this rate, they'll inspire more deep thinking than David Bowie and Henry Cow combined. The textures on their bubble salsa statement are so cheesy that it takes forever to penetrate to its intellectual essence, which lends the cheese its savor. And as a pop aesthete, I'm offended by the pace. Average cut length on this 6-song disco mix is a languorous 8:20. Guess I'm just a sucker for lyrics that give Che Guevara his due.
I'm that review boggled my brain.
I know. He writes in a way that it takes a lot to kind of fully dissect what he's saying. He says a lot with those few words.
Well, I found one review that I thought seemed intellectual, but now that I've heard that, it doesn't really. So this is the one I had that I thought was impressive. This is a more modern review from Fact Magazine. They said 1988 was a high note, culturally speaking, for a pervasive belief, in the West at least, that technology and mass media could genuinely improve people's lives, and that those improvements were inevitable. Introspective is a document of that confidence, a testament to music technology's timeless wavelengths, and a clear-eyed articulation of the sincere hope that things were going to be all right.
Wow. Wow.
That's nothing compared to your review.
Oh, no, I liked that. That was good. Okay, so I have 2 more reviews, and I'll read parts of them both because, again, they're rather long. One is from Mark Coleman, who wrote for Rolling Stone in December of 1988, and he only gives this album 2 stars out of 5.
Ugh.
I know. But I'm going to read you a little bit of what he says anyway. He starts off, "The Pet Shop Boys produce absolutely disposable pop, and that's meant as a compliment." Okay. And in his next paragraph, he says, "The album is a quick survey course in the last year's disco trends." And he says, "The Pet Shop Boys can't help sounding instantly identifiable and essentially British above all else. Take Domino Dancing. Despite all those Latin samples, Chris Lowe's languid synth lines and Neil Tennant's wan, sometimes nasal vocals combine in a hook that uncannily recalls Al Stewart's Year of the Cat."
What?
That's what he says. Nobody in his right mind would do that on purpose. Yeah, I had to read that because I couldn't believe they said that. And the last thing he says is, "Introspective may be a fleeting pleasure at best, but by the time it's absorbed and forgotten, the next Pet Shop Boys record will be due."
Year of the Cat.
I don't hear a similarity in his voice and Al Stewart's voice at all.
No, that's ridiculous.
No, me neither.
All right, hit us with your Rolling Stone review.
You know, that was the Rolling Stone review.
That was it?
Yeah,
Oh, they gave it 2 out of 5?
yeah.
All right, well, just note that a little while later when Rolling Stone published a book called the Rolling Stone Album Guide, they gave it 4 out of 5 stars in their album guide.
Wow, okay, so definitely a different person involved there.
Yeah, so they corrected the error that they
They
made in 1988.
They said, "Mark Coleman, you have nothing to say in this. We are getting someone else to contribute." Okay, so the last one of my favorites, always smash hits reviews. This is from William Shaw, and from the October 19th through November 1 edition of the magazine, and I will only read the very beginning and then towards the end. He starts off, "Without a smidgen of doubt, the Pet Shop Boys are one of the smartest pop sensations ever to have happened. So how come this is a bit of a disappointment?" Oh, I know. Shocking. And he goes on to explain what songs are on it. Then he says, "The problem is you get the idea that the pair are simply messing about a bit too much. Chris is spending lots of time fiddling about with rather elaborate house remixes or adding funny noises to everything, and Neil's vocal bits occasionally verge on the hugely barmy. The end result is that one moment you're basking in the brilliance of their music, the next you're scratching your head in sheer bafflement. Sleeves good, though. And he rates that a 6.5 out of 10.
His sleeve's good, though.
Yeah. I just love that throwaway statement at the
I
end.
know.
Yeah.
Every cloud has a silver lining.
Yeah.
or a stripy lining.
Right.
All right, so my last one is very short. It's just from thequietest.com, a website that I like to read. They said that Introspective was an album that saw Pet Shop Boys giving full rein to their increasing infatuation with club music and gave rise to Tennant's coining of the idea of an imperial phase. The results were spectacular, with Domino Dancing managing to hold disco, saxophone, and Spanish guitar in one wonderful song. I'm already not looking forward to the fact that I'm going to have to admit that here's another song with good saxophone in it. I never should have, whatever episode that was that I said saxophone, Tears for Fears, I guess.
Yeah.
I wish I never had said that
Yeah.
saxophone never made a song better, because it's been a year now of just being proved wrong.
You're learning. You're growing. That's a good thing.
I am.
Eat your words.
Yep. All right, so we're almost to the point where we're going to actually talk about the music. We've been doing it for an hour.
Oh, my
and we're
gosh.
almost going to talk about the music, but we got to quickly mention our personal history with the record. So, Sarah, since you're shaking your head at disgust with your own personal history, why don't you go first,
yeah.
since you evidently have none?
That is about right. Yeah, woefully unaware of my personal history with this album. I certainly didn't own it. I don't think that you made a copy of it for me.
Yeah, because it's against the law.
Oh, right. Well, you made all those backup copies for me to keep safe.
Yeah, I stored those at your house.
Yes, right. But I don't know when I became aware of this album or knew all the songs on it. I absolutely no memory of when this album came into my life. Mm-hmm. So I don't have anything for you here.
Let me give you your usual womp womp
womp
sound effect for your
very much so
for your kind of boring personal history.
Yeah.
All right.
Sorry,
Andrew. You mentioned your exclusive shopping bag and sticker. Is there any other memories that stuck with you over the years from your introduction to this one?
I suppose the biggest one would be that wasn't this also around the time they did their first tour, after always saying we'll never tour and we couldn't tour because of the technology that would be involved, and then they did tour tour. They did the UK and Japan and a few places on their
Right.
very first. And that was just after this album, I think. So
It was 1989 because the name of the tour was the Roman numeral rendition of the year 1989.
That's right. So it was a year after then.
Right.
So that tour is very much part of this album for me because I was listening to it at the time, and then I finally got to see them, and it was like the peak of pop perfection for me.
Oh, that's awesome that you saw that tour.
Yeah, it was an amazing concert as well. It was in a huge stadium in Birmingham here in the Midlands, and it was just so, they'd obviously been thinking about it for a long time, and it was all they had like the Derek Jarman films, and lots of costumes, and the sound was amazing, and the merchandise was fantastic, and I was in pet heaven.
That's awesome. There was never a live album or anything released from that tour?
There was a VHS cassette called Highlights that I think had maybe 6 songs on it or something. But no, there was no official recording of it now.
That's too bad. Well, my personal history is kind of brief, but it does illustrate a very different version of myself.
Oh.
Because this would never happen these days, but this album came out October 10th. Is that what we said?
Yes.
I put it on my Christmas list.
What?
Yep. I said, hey, Mom and Dad, this is one of the things I want for Christmas, Pet Shop Boys Introspective. So that's when I got it. I got it on Christmas Day on vinyl. Not sure how I spent 2 months without this record. I guess it sort of helped that I already had the 7-inch for Always on my mind, and I had the 7-inch for Domino Dancing, which I about wore out. And probably, Neil says that the fact that the record had 6 songs with extended versions, it may have turned off some record buyers. Mm-hmm. His proof of that is that Behavior, which is regarded as one of their best creatively, didn't sell all that well. Maybe there's some truth to that. Maybe my thinking was it's only 6 songs, I can wait till Christmas. I don't know, but for some reason that's what I did. So whenever I hear these songs, it always is like a very happy memory for me because I listened to it over Christmas vacation a lot. So I associate these songs with having nothing to do and just getting to hang around and listen to music. And it also, much like Erasure Wonderland, I said that's my springtime album. Mm-hmm. Whenever I hear this record, I often think of like cold and wintertime.
Oh.
Even though that's not really like a chilly kind of sound to it. That's when I first listened to it, so that's what I think of. So it's my winter album.
Your October Symphony.
Yeah, exactly.
Very nice.
All right, so we are up to, finally, the first track from side 1.
We are.
And this is one of your favorite songs, right, Sarah?
My very favorite Pet Shop Boys song, and it's called Left to My Own Devices.
I was a lonely boy, no strength, no joy, in a world of my own, at the back of the garden. I didn't want to compete or play out on the street, or in a secret life. I was a roundhead general. I could leave you, say goodbye, or I could love you if I tried.
Oh, I love that song so much, and the chorus is wonderful. But first, let's talk some facts. This was the second single released from the album. It was released on November 14th, 1988, so we're coming up on the 30th anniversary of that release as well. And it did very well. It got to number 4 in the UK singles chart. It did terrible in America, only got to number 84 on the Hot 100.
Shame on you.
I know.
Number 8 dance clubs, though.
Right. Yeah, it was really good in the dance clubs, and number 25 on the dance music maxi singles sales chart. It did top 10 in 5 other countries. Yeah, it did really well in other countries and bombed in America, except on the dance floor.
Before we talk about the music, can I tell you a review that I saw of this that
yes,
delighted me to no end?
I don't have any reviews of this.
The Guardian, they said back in the day, this song is pop's greatest celebration of ambivalence.
Oh, wow. Ambivalent.
I think that would go because I've got a review here from or an interview with Neil Tennant in Word magazine, which is a sort of serious music magazine that was around at the time. And he said, "Left to my own devices was an experiment in seeing how mundane a pop song could be before setting it against extravagant music." and it really is kind of so extravagant, isn't it? Which is why it is such a brilliant pop song. It's just so overblown and dramatic, but it works perfectly. And that production is largely about Trevor Horn, really. That's what he does so brilliantly. He brings that whole bombastic and dramatic combination of electronics, acoustic instruments, and orchestral stuff and vocals. He's the master at making that all work together because I think it's not an easy thing to do, to kind of mix pop and orchestra and all of that stuff. It's quite disparate elements, but it's a flawless song, I think. Even in its edited 7-inch single version, it still works. But that album on Introspective is just a wonderful piece. It's, it needs to be that long to do it justice, I think.
Very true, but that's true, and it's also true that you take a song with such different elements to it, so many things could go wrong.
Yes.
It could be cheesy, it could be, all these different terrible adjectives,
Right.
and Trevor Horn made this song sound amazing.
Well, you just flip it over to hear how wrong it could go. For the B-side, The Sound of the Atom Splitting. Have you heard that song?
Yeah, I hate that song.
Yeah, I mean, and that is just a diversion of Left to My Own Devices. So what Trevor Horn is famous for doing is working a song into hundreds of different versions. And, as he did with Frankie Goes to Hollywood, there were all those dozens of remixes of Relax and Two Tribes and stuff. Well, with The Sound of the Atom Splitting, it's basically Left to My Own Devices with a sort of acid house bass line. It's the same percussion or a part of the percussion, and then them just having a laugh over the top of it, playing various synclaviers and fairlights and stuff over the top of it. But that's what Trevor Horn does. He made that Grace Jones album, Slave to the Rhythm, is just the one Slave to the Rhythm song and then another 8, 9 or 10 versions of the same song. So I quite like that. Whilst The Sound of the Atom Splitting isn't a classic Pet Shop Boys song, it's still an interesting thing to do. It's an interesting experiment, and I kind of applaud that, really. The band at the top of their game, in their imperial phase, will be willing to do something so crazy.
I'm not sure I realized that's what it was.
No, I'll have to go back and listen to it with the new
Yeah,
ears.
it's particularly apparent with the percussion. If you listen to the percussion, you can hear it's the same beats per minute and it's the same sounds and stuff. Yeah,
Well, that's kind of neat in theory.
Yeah, correct. Concept is cool.
And speaking of that orchestra, this is the first track that the duo recorded with a real orchestra.
Right.
And that orchestra was arranged by a guy named Richard Niles. Mm-hmm. And his dad was a fellow named Tony Romano, who was a guitarist and composer who worked with Frank Sinatra, Bing Crosby, and Cole Porter.
What a pedigree.
Yeah. We are also familiar with his work. He scored the strings on Depeche Mode's song Home,
Oh, wow.
which is one of Martin's best songs, I think.
yeah,
And also on a song that's kind of overlooked because it's on a compilation, Only When I Lose Myself.
Something beautiful is happening inside.
Oh, yeah, I know the strings on that. That's very nice.
that was a single here in the UK. That song.
Yeah, we had it as a single too, but much like every other Depeche Mode song, no one cared.
Oh,
Yeah, that's their fate here.
Although their tour was sold amazingly.
Oh, yeah.
I can't figure it out. When they tour, they do so well, but, they can't get played on the radio.
Nope.
Oh, well. Pet Shop Boys didn't really like the orchestra when they heard the track for the first time. Neil said they were slightly appalled, which I think is a great quote. You're slightly appalled.
Yeah.
Like you're sort of starving.
Yeah.
But whatever, they ended up in the end keeping almost all of it, and they've gone on to work with Niles often. He's on Jealousy and a bunch of songs that they've done over the years, so everything worked out for the best.
Yeah, and in addition to them working with an orchestra, they actually had an opera singer on this as well. You hear her in the beginning, you hear her later on. Her name is Sally Bradshaw. She was a mezzo-soprano, and she was the one that provided those vocals.
That's right, and Trevor wanted her to sing the word house at the beginning of the song. Uh-huh. Because a lot of songs on the charts at the time had people saying house music, like in the songs. So was that a thing? Since I don't know anything about house, did you have to point out to people that they were listening to house music?
yeah, because it was a bit of an underground thing at first, house music. But when it became, every song in the charts was a house song, there was lots of that kind of, ha 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 house music. Sort of, yeah, it was a bit
Wow.
embarrassing, really.
That's
Although
great.
I do think it sounds like she's saying arse, actually.
Yeah, I read other people said the same thing.
Have I just ruined your family-friendly thing now? By
Oh, that's a
using
good question.
Oh, I don't know.
Hopefully no one will complain.
No, I think we'll be all right.
Blame the Brits. There's a version that Trevor Horn, when he did a concert, I think it might have been at the Albert Hall. It was at some really great venue in London, and he got basically all the people that he'd worked with throughout his career to come back and just do one or two songs. And Pet Shop Boys did the two songs that they'd done with him up to that point, This and It's All Right. And I think it's the best version of it because it's with the full orchestra and she's there as well. That's the first time I think she actually met Neil and Chris, and she sings it live, and it's just, it makes the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. It's definitely worth checking out. It's on YouTube.
I'll have to watch that. I've actually watched the Frankie Goes to Hollywood stuff a couple times.
With that other singer.
Yeah, with the other singer, who's actually really good.
I mean, the whole concert is great, because Trevor Horn's worked with the best people in the industry, and the bit with Pet Shop Boys is just fabulous. And they're clearly really loving it as well, because they're having the whole orchestra and having Trevor there. And I think there's something like 30 musicians on the stage as well. It really is a fantastic piece of performance and music.
That sounds great. I'll have to hunt that down. It's such a different take, like the Pet Shop Boys being excited to be on stage with Trevor, and then for the life of me, I can't figure out why Frankie Goes to Hollywood, the three guys that agreed to do it.
Yeah.
I can't understand why they did after the way Trevor treated Frankie Goes to Hollywood.
Right.
But I know Holly and Nasher, they refused to do the concert.
Uh-huh.
So it's funny how different people have different
Yeah.
experiences with the same producer.
Yeah, I guess after they've all gone back to their ordinary lives, it's just a fun thing to do, isn't it, after all those years, to come be part of such a massive celebration.
Yeah, I would agree.
So this song has that great extended intro to it.
Oh, yeah.
The whole, like the first 2 minutes of this song, unlike a lot of remixes at the time, this doesn't just repeat a few riffs to stretch out the opening. Because of the fact that they intentionally wrote the song like this and put thought into it, the song evolves from that initial orchestral opening with the opera vocals to a high energy dance beat that then brings in the house style piano, and then you bring in the orchestra in. Then there's like this sound effect that's sort of like a wave and mixes things up, and at the 2 minute mark we get the vocals. But those 2 minutes of music, they fly by. It doesn't feel like 2 minutes because it's great how they're building the track and adding these parts to it.
Yeah.
You can tell right away that this is not like some remixer that they hired to extend the song, that this is like true artists just creating something that's going to be longer than a normal song. This is a great example of songwriting.
And production as well, that, there's a reason why it takes Trevor Horn that long to produce songs, because he's such so meticulous around attention to detail, about every element having to work the way it should work. And I think I read something about this song taking like 6 months to produce after it had been recorded, because he was just, pecking away at it, trying to make it the best it could possibly be. And I think it was a success.
Yeah, there's a great quote. Neil said, Trevor Horn had this fantastic idea that we would program all the keyboards and the computers. We would commission an orchestral arrangement, and then we would go in and record the whole thing live, the machines, the orchestra, and the vocals, and it would all be done in one day. 6 months later, the record was finished.
You just can't rush a good thing sometimes.
No. And then with something like that, there is a danger that it could kind of get overdone, but I do not think that happened here.
The song actually started as an instrumental.
Right, yeah.
That Chris wrote at Abbey Road Studios.
Yeah, how about that?
I always like seeing that.
Yeah.
The story of when they first asked Trevor Horn to work with them, I think is pretty funny. They said they wanted to get ready for meeting him, so they got together the day before they were supposed to meet, and Chris played around on the keyboards, and Neil read some music magazines. And then Chris started playing a bass line, and Neil liked it. Neil says, hey, why don't you play the chords from that demo you recorded at Abbey Road? Why don't you play that over that bass line? So Chris started programming the drums and working on the song, and Neil kept reading magazines.
Yeah.
And then he says, I realized in my head I was singing left to my own devices, I probably would to myself. So he was sort of not even, he was reading magazines, but that's just what came into his head. So that's where he got those lyrics from. But then Neil got involved. He started putting some power guitar chords on it, or guitar power chords on it, and he created a mix that built up from nothing to a loud, like distorted bit of music. And he says, and while I was doing that, Chris was reading those magazines that I'd been reading earlier.
I took turns, huh?
Yep, so that's how they worked together on this song.
Oh, that's so funny.
Was it released as a single in the States?
Yeah,
Well,
it was. It only got to like 82. And we have the American 12-inch release of it.
That's good.
Yeah. I forget if we have the 7-inch single.
Did it come in its, because it had an unusual package, didn't it, when it was released? It initially came in an envelope. Did you have that version?
Nope. Our 7-inch single is not even a picture sleeve. It's just a plain black with the record label's name on it. And then the 12-inch single has a picture where I think Neil's sitting in something that almost looks like a dentist chair or something.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think it is a dentist chair.
Okay.
And then there's
photo.
there's some kind of a stack of things that has hats hanging on it.
Yeah, it is very pretentious. And Mark Farrow himself hated the photograph, didn't he? That's why the sleeve that I mentioned, that was like an envelope, Mark Farrow based it. I was talking earlier about how often designers take their inspiration from other things. With this one, he bought an American map that was in a kind of orange card sleeve, and he basically just copied the layout of the typography and put the record sleeve inside it. So it's the same color with the same lettering. He designed it to kind of be a cover for the cover because he hated the photograph so much that was on the single. And that was on the 7-inch and the 12-inch and the CD and the cassette. So everything came in a sort of external package to hide the picture that offended him so much. But I like the fact that he's given so much leeway about the design of things, because as much as the producers will look after the sound and the Tennant and Lowe will look after the song's compositions, it's great when the designer's given that autonomy to look after the design as well, because they can provide that visual consistency.
Yeah, but I guess he didn't have enough autonomy to say, I don't want you to use that picture, huh?
He did the next best thing, just wrapped it up completely and hid it away.
It then cost more to produce each copy, right? Because he's including this extra envelope.
Yeah, so it's like a double sleeve, but they did that a lot anyway. A lot of their records, singles had inner sleeves to them. It's just, but that was what design was like in the 80s. It was very, very extravagant, particularly in the UK. It was all about the packaging. Probably made me want to be a designer.
That's something that, here in America, we would only see that with the import singles and things.
Right. Yeah. They just throw us the regular cover. Here, enjoy that.
Yeah, we'd get people, like, just to go off on a bit of a tangent, but to link to your last episode, the Duran Duran one. Sometimes artists would bring out, like Duran Duran brought out 6 versions of the Wild Boys. They were all identical, but it was just the covers that were different. That's how important packaging was. Because it would make people buy 6 versions of the same song.
Yeah. Oh, man.
They do that with comic books now here.
Yeah, they do that all the time with comics.
Yeah.
Was the Wild Boys single, was that a cover, like one picture of each band member and then something else?
It was each band member and then a group shot.
Okay. Man, they should have done a 7th one with that weird head from the video, that bald head.
I would buy that.
I would have bought it. That guy was awesome. That's a great video. Wild Boys. Oh, man.
Yeah.
I love that song.
Can't wait to talk about the video for this song.
Oh, wait, we can't segue to the video yet.
No, I know. I'm just so excited to talk about it. But
it's no Wild Boys, I'll tell you that.
Somehow I'll restrain myself. I already said how much I love this song. Every time I hear those first notes, I just get so happy, and the dramatic build-up and then the dance beat kicks in. It's just perfection. In addition to the song itself, specifically, I love the chorus because the chords in it are just so exquisitely beautiful to me. Of course, I had to look them up because I needed to know what are these chords. They sound so unusual. Mm-hmm. And the one site where I found them listed, they are A, B minor 7th, E sustained, C 6th, B minor 7th, and A.
Those chords sound difficult to play.
I agree. Yes. Very, very complex. The 6th, I've heard of 7ths, and there's a 6th in here. Like, that's crazy. So super complex, but it works so well.
Yeah. When you're working with a full orchestra as well, that's sort of really amplified, isn't it? The power of those interesting chords and structure changes. It's much more apparent with a full orchestra.
Right. Because it's going to sound a lot different than it will with just a couple of synthesizer sounds.
Yes. Yeah. It's really going to be sort of exaggerated.
Right.
I still remember that my first time listening to this song kind of had me rather down on the verses. Like, this one started and I was just kind of like, that intro was cool, but man, this verse, he's just like talking. It's almost like rapping or something. Uh-huh. I just wasn't getting into it. And then that chorus came in and it blew me away on the first listen. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. This part is awesome. Uh-huh. And it makes me think that, like, I remember early in their career, reviewers would sometimes say Pet Shop Boys are great at writing choruses, and they would then imply that, like, the verses were never up to the choruses, but they're a great chorus band and stuff. Uh-huh. And I guess that I sort of at the time said, well, that's what's happening here. This is one of those times that the critics are right. They wrote an awesome chorus and the verse is just kind of so-so. Then one day at some point that I can't recall, it's been years, I've loved this song for as long as I can remember, really. It all came together in my head and I was like, oh, everything about this song is amazing. The verse and the chorus and everything. Yeah,
I think the sweeping and grandiose feel of the music coupled with Neil's almost deadpan delivery, there's just nothing else like that in pop music. Yeah. It works together so well.
Yeah, you can only have light if there's shade to contrast it against, can't you? And I think that's what works really well with the chorus chorus and the verse. They are so different.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
I think as well, it was a very bold move. I mean, as much as I talked about the B-side and that being a crazy thing for a pop group to do at the height of their career, using a full orchestra wasn't exactly something many people were doing at that time either. You know? Particularly a group that's well known for being a synthesizer duo to then say, "Oh, here's our new single, and it's got a 48-piece symphony orchestra on it." It was another brave step, really.
That's a good point.
And then the beginning of the song is great, very clever, and then the end of the song is great and clever when they go into the little dream sequence.
Oh, right.
They get the point across so well. They get the point across with the lyrics, because they kind of repeat the lyrics from earlier, but everything is sort of different. Mm-hmm. And Neil explains that that's because, it's a dream.
Yeah.
But they also do it with the music. I think you would know that even without Neil explaining it, just because of the way the music is. We get the opera singer voice back, and we get I don't even know how you would explain the sounds, but there's like just this sound that sounds almost like a harp maybe or something that sort of signifies, I think it's like a code word to your brain that this is a dream sequence.
Yeah.
It works really, really well.
Well, there is a real harp in there as well.
Okay, is that what it is? That's
That's probably it, yeah.
Yeah, and harp does sound kind of dreamy and dreamlike, and so that definitely helps get the idea across.
I saw Neil talking about some lyrics that he changed. I don't have any real good segue to this, but I just thought it was kind of funny. He said originally the lyrics for this said, "Drink some tea, maybe if you're with me, we'll drink some coffee."
Yeah.
And then he said, I could say do some shopping. And he said, "I know everyone would say it was pathetic. Another Pet Shop Boys song about going shopping, but I decided that coffee was even more pathetic."
Even though that's what he would really do in real life, he said if he had someone with him at his house, he'd give them coffee. And if he was just by himself, he'd drink tea.
Yep. So can I admit to something that until this weekend, I didn't know a line in this song? I never understood what it was.
Okay.
The Roundhead General line.
Oh, yeah.
Now, here's the thing. Firstly, I'm an ignorant American. So I didn't even know. If I had known what he was saying, I wouldn't have known what it was. But I now know that that's to do with the English Civil War in the mid-1600s. And the Roundheads were a pro-parliamentary force during the Civil War. And the name Roundheads came from the fact that they sort of wore their hair trimmed short. And their opponents, they were the Cavaliers. Mm-hmm. They had long hair, and they supported King Charles I. And in case you're not up on your British history, King Charles I was defeated and beheaded.
Oh.
So in the song, when he's playing in the garden, Neil says, "In a secret life, I was a Roundhead general."
Okay.
And it wasn't until yesterday or Friday that I have known what that was my entire life. I didn't know, and I never managed to look it up or whatever, so I have always sang this. "In a secret life, I was a Roundhead general." That's actually what I sing. And I know that it's not words.
I think I see you blushing over there.
I can feel him blushing from over
Yeah. That might be one of the best misheard or misinterpreted lyrics ever. I'm often the one that comes up with my interpretations, but yeah, that's probably far and above anything I've ever said.
I've sung that for 30 years. A Rantaja.
Right from now on, I'm going to sing that too.
Thank you for your support. And now that I know he says it, I can make out the word general. But he still sings it sort of
I always
strangely.
knew he said general, but I didn't know what that word was. I thought maybe it was a ranking general, and didn't still sound quite right, but I never looked it up either.
Because I knew it was Roundhead because we did that in history at school, but I didn't know why they were called a Roundhead. So you've educated me a bit there on that bit.
Oh, hey, that's awesome.
Oh, look at us.
And Neil did say that even though he did play in the garden with army men, he always actually imagined himself a cavalier in real life.
Yeah, at that point. I think then later he said he'd rather be a Roundhead because it was more of like an anti-monarchy kind of stance. Growing up a good Catholic boy, he was probably on the side of the king at that point.
Oh, okay.
I remember one Saturday morning on TV, the Pet Shop Boys were on there, and I got up early to watch them. I think I probably even recorded it on our Betamax video. And they were doing like a phone-in where you could ask questions, and then they do a competition. You could win a prize, and the prize was the artwork for the limited edition 12-inch single that was going to be released the following week. So the single was out. At that time, you'd released multiple versions of songs, and they had the artwork for this, and I was just like, oh, I want that artwork. I want it. And if I can't have it, I want that. I'll go and buy the record next week. I didn't win the competition, and that was never released either. It never came out, and it was a Frankie Knuckles remix of Left to My Own Devices. The actual remix has appeared unofficially online, but it's not officially been released, and that 12-inch was never even pressed to my knowledge. But it had exclusive artwork. It's actually a photograph that was used later on other things. You'll probably know the photograph. But I was really upset I didn't win the competition, because that artwork is just so rare, and the fact that it was for a record that never got released was...
That's crazy.
The holy grail of design and Pet Shop Boys stuff.
Like,
wow.
They must have just been unaware of the fact it was canceled, right? Because there's no way, if it was supposed to be released in a week, I mean, the decision must have been made already, right? They can't have gone through the whole process of pressing the record and making it, then not released it. They must have killed the process early on, right?
Yeah, so obviously the record had been, the remix had been recorded, the design had been prepared, the track listing was all sorted, but it never got released. So I don't know what it was. Maybe there was some kind of sample that hadn't been cleared, or something that just pulled it at that last minute.
Man, that's wild.
Oh, what a sad story. I wanted to mention, I love that in the liner notes for this song, Neil mentions how much he likes the big orchestral sound of A Day in the Life by the Beatles. And I really liked seeing that, because that's my favorite Beatles song. This is my favorite Pet Shop Boys song. And as Neil has explained, this song is about a day in the life of someone. So I love those similarities between the two songs that you probably wouldn't think about until he pointed them out.
Pretty neat. So let's wrap this up by talking about the video.
All right.
Anyone like this video?
Well, I don't hate
It's like
it.
there was a good idea that it's like, okay, we'll film it from below because no one's ever filmed a video from below, and that'll be really interesting and original. But then it sort of falls apart after that, doesn't it? Because it's certainly not interesting. It's original, but it's just an idea that doesn't really go anywhere.
Yeah, it's just fog and low lights and Neil and Chris in black and gymnasts doing different things and blue balloons. And
now Chris has some good dance moves in this.
Oh, yeah.
He does some cool things with his legs and stuff.
I guess so.
And those were taught to him by the same choreographer who worked on Smooth Criminal and Bad with Michael Jackson.
Oh, wow.
So that's kind of neat. But seriously, the high point to me was this one part where Chris was doing this thing, making his knees go.
Oh, yeah. I remember that.
Like a frog.
Yeah, right. Yep.
The frog dance.
That was the high point. I'm not sure what I would have wanted the video for this to be about, because you also don't want like a visual representation of exactly what Neil's telling you.
Oh, I know what I want.
But they could have done something amazing.
Yes.
If they had thought of it.
Yes.
What do you think would have been amazing?
Well, of course, this is all probably based on afterwards, what they've done in their careers and their stage performances. But my vision of this video would be Neil in the foreground, wearing a suit, plain black suit, Chris head down over a keyboard off to the side, and behind them on the stage, something like a Cirque du Soleil spectacle. All kinds of crazy acrobatics and colors and excitement, but they're both completely unaware of what is going on behind them. They're just up in the front doing their thing.
They're aware of it, they just don't care.
Right, that's probably it. Yeah, just, them in the front doing their thing, and behind them is all this stuff going on, because that's, to me, the visual representation of the song.
Yeah, I can see that. That would be something that would work.
But again, that was probably a lot more expensive than what they ended up doing.
Right.
Eric Watson directed it, didn't he?
He did.
Worked with them a lot, did lots of photography, and he said the video is a clever, rather glorious reflection of the song's atmosphere. However, I got into trouble for it. I wanted to create this sort of Dante's Inferno with everybody walking on space. I wanted it to be like a painting and keep the same point of view with events running through it. But somebody said it was the most terrible piece of negativism, because at the end, the Pet Shop Boys are just stamping all over everyone. But interesting as well, I've just reading it says, I thought it was really funny, but it didn't really appeal to a lot of people's sense of humour. And there was a longer version of it for clubs in the USA, including lots of very literal inserts around the phrase of the party animal. For instance, it is illustrated by a shot of Chairman Mao, but owing to copyright issues, it was never shown in Britain. Did you get to see that video though?
I've never seen it.
I've never seen that.
I've not even come across it online. I might have to check that out.
That's weird.
Hey, I'm glad you mentioned Party Animal because I did have a note about that. Who is the party animal in the song? It is John Savage, who's a British music journalist and pop culture commentator. Neil admitted he wasn't necessarily a huge party animal, but he did go out a lot at night and did things. And he and Neil used to talk on the phone almost every morning. So that's who Neil was referring to in that song.
Mr. Savage?
Yes.
That's cool. When you mentioned that Eric Watson directed a lot of their videos, Andrew, that made me think back to earlier this year or whenever it was that we did the Erasure podcast. We talked about how Erasure's videos, I didn't think they were up to the standards of a lot of the bands that I grouped them together with. And you had mentioned, well, they never really had a director like The Cure or Depeche Mode that they were able to develop a relationship with. So it sounds like at least from 84 to 91, Pet Shop Boys had a relationship with Eric Watson.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he was part of the creative team. I remember when I was writing the article for the Pet Shop Boys special classic pop thing, and some of the research, I don't know if it was something came from Tom Watkins, and he was saying about how when they were doing that album sleeve, it was Mark Farrow and Eric Watson and Neil and Chris worked on everything together as a creative team. So they went off and met with the woman who did the original oil painting that wasn't used. But yeah, Eric Watson was very integral to the aesthetic of the Pet Shop Boys for a long time.
And how do you think the fruits of their relationship, how do they hold up to some of the ones there that we mentioned earlier?
I'm not that familiar with his video work, really, particularly beyond Pet Shop Boys. I don't know if there is any. I don't know. I mean, he's an amazing photographer, but maybe I don't know enough about the video side of things to have any very strong opinion on it, really. But my experience is that people are very good at one thing. Like we talked about Anton Corbijn in the past. I think he's an amazing photographer, but a terrible graphic designer.
Yeah.
You know, it's like sometimes people try to do too much. But he also did the domino dancing video, which is, as much as it's controversial and very talked about, it's still a really interesting and fun video and you know, very stylish in lots of ways.
Yeah, I agree with that. And that's something that my opinion on that video changed recently because of the fact it turned out my memories of it were quite terrible.
Oh, wow. I just want to say one more thing about this song in closing. This song is so beautiful. It's so perfectly Pet Shop Boys. It's got mundane yet personal lyrics, lush orchestration, wonderful synthetic programming, and an excellent dance beat. What more could anyone want?
I wouldn't argue with that.
Great summary there, Sarah, for an awesome Pet Shop Boys single. And that brings us up to the second track on this side. This is a song called I Want a Dog.
Don't want a cat scratching its claws all over my habitat, giving no love and getting fat. Oh, you can get lonely, and a cat's no help with
So this is the one song that flew in the face of the band's mission statement for creating this record. Their plan to create a record where every track was a single. This is where they shot themselves in the foot because this song had previously been released as the B-side for the single Rent. Mm-hmm. They really liked that song, and they thought it just could have been a little better. So they were a fan of a remixer who we have mentioned now a few times, Frankie Knuckles.
Yes.
And they asked him to create a new version of the track, and this is what he came up with. Now that we've talked a little bit about house music, I'm hearing that rapid-fire beat here.
Yep.
The really good bass. I like that piano. I think the piano in here is really good. And the remix that he provided, the Pet Shop Boys, I think is amazing. This is a great song. Back in the day, I didn't know that this was a B-side, and I never understood why this didn't get a chance to be released. I thought it was a great song.
I'd agree. I think as an album track, and particularly this remix, it is really, really good. And that house piano is fabulous.
It sounds fantastic.
Yeah, in a club it would have been incredible.
Yeah. And that piano riff, that version of it is the first appearance that we hear, I think, of that riff that we end up hearing a lot of variations of this in future Pet Shop Boys songs, even New Order songs and electronic songs. It's like a very common theme in the next 3 to 4 years. You know, I hear things like in Getting Away with It. World in Motion has that very similar piano riff in it. And of course, I'm thinking of things on Behavior that I can't name them right now. But yeah, it's
The End of the World?
Yeah, that would be it. So yeah, this is kind of like the first time we're hearing that piano riff that's very, very prominent in this era of music.
And that's pure house style music as well. You know, that's the signature sound.
Yeah.
Man, I love that I'm learning about this house music. It turns out I actually like it. All these songs that you're talking about, I like a lot.
I'll do you a compilation.
I hope that one gets lost in the mail. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I would love that. So I have a little sample here of the original version of the song just to let people hear the difference.
Oh, good.
I played that sample that I played for the album version that had that piano because it's so awesome. Here's what it originally sounded like a year or two earlier when it was released with Rent.
Don't want a cat scratching its claws all over my habitat, giving no love and getting fat. Oh, you can get lonely, and a cat's no help with that.
So that's actually the same section of the song that I played before. Neil says that version is a bit experimental and that this new version has a kind of deep, dark house atmosphere to it. It brings out the song's sad, sinister qualities.
Oh.
I think with that B-side version as well, you can tell that they're clearly enamored with their new sampling technology as well.
Yeah.
The kind of, you know, when they've got that barking dog percussion and the cat meowing and things. You know, it's like, we've got a Fairlight and we're going to use it.
It might as well. It's so expensive.
And who would have thought that because of the Pet Shop Boys back in 87, when that was released, we would go on to have the Jingle Cats and the Christmas Dogs, those terrible songs with ruff, 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 ruff.
Yeah.
I blame Neil and Chris for that.
It does sound quite weak in comparison, but the thing I like about that version is where Chris Lowe just lists the dogs. I think that's it's a bit like Paninaro or, you know, sex, love, but it's Beagle or whatever it is.
I don't really know too much about dogs, but they said some of the things that he's saying are breeds, but then some of them are just like descriptive
like
words.
A hound,
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Like what kind of hound?
And that's when him doing that list here and doing Pioneero, that's one of the things that My Robot Friend spoofed when they wrote that song, We're the Pet Shop Boys.
Oh, yeah.
Because they have a list of Pet Shop Boys songs in their song. I like whenever I stumble across these songs where they have lists. I always get excited.
I get excited too.
Who knows where the lyrics for this song came from?
I know. I'm sure Andrew knows.
Yeah, but we'll let you tell the listener.
Well, the lyric for this one was inspired by one of their friends, Peter Andreas.
Andreas, right?
Andreas. And he told them that he wanted a dog, but just a Chihuahua because I only have a small apartment. And so Neil went on to write the song based on that.
Yeah, he said, I laughed and wrote it down straight away. And then he was like, I think that's really sad myself. It's like, it's lonely. It's why people have dogs, for love and security, he says. I guess that's true. Andrew, would you agree?
I would agree, yeah.
Having a dog yourself, you would know.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with a beagle.
Aw. Did you know Brian used to have a beagle?
No, I didn't.
I did when I was a kid. I had a beagle named Pepper.
I'm glad you played the sample that you did because I wanted to comment about those particular lines.
Okay.
Don't want a cat scratching its claws all over my habitat. I didn't know this, and I'm sure Andrew knew this already, but there's a chain of home furnishing stores in the UK called Habitat. So in that sense, the line has...
It's actually European, but yeah, and it doesn't exist anymore, really. There's very few of them now, but yeah, Habitat was a store, yeah.
So I'd say that it had a double meaning because it was, you know, my habitat, which is just a normal home, but then it would be like my Habitat furnishings, the things I purchased at that store. So
because Habitat was quite a designer store, really. It was started by Terence Conran, who's a very famous designer who Tom Watkins actually worked for. Pet Shop Boys manager and worked for Terence Conran early on in his career. But Terence Conran started the Habitat chain of stores and is now went on to be a very, very famous designer.
Now, Sarah, did you find that on Wayne Studer's webpage?
No, I don't think I did find that there. I was on his webpage quite a bit, though, commentary.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He had written something about that, but he also wrote a little bit about this song, the interesting manner in which this song presents sexual stereotypes. So I wanted to make sure I gave him credit because he's the one who came up with this. But I just thought it was interesting. He says that when Neil sings "Don't Want a Cat," at a purely textual level, he's upholding stereotypical gender expectations because dogs are the stereotypical masculine choice of pet, while cats are the stereotypical feminine choice. But at a subtextual level, Wayne suggests something else may be going on. If we regard these pets as stand-ins for expressions of sexual preference, dog as man and cat as woman, we might view this song and the lines such as "I want a dog" as "I want a man," and it's a coded pre-coming out expression, a lyrical expression from Neil, because Neil had not commented on his sexuality at this point. He says, recalling writer Philip Core's definition of camp as the lie that tells the truth, we might, with the hindsight of more than 2 decades, regard this song as an arch instance of camp and a strongly coded lie about the truth about the Pet Shop Boys that wouldn't become official for several more years.
It's a really interesting theory, and that's what I love about his site, that he scrutinizes the lyrics in this way and sort of, theorizes about them, because he could well be right there.
Yeah, and I picture him just sitting around just thinking all the time about the Pet Shop Boys and just coming up with these great thoughts, because his website is so interesting to read.
It's very, very complex and detailed, and there's a lot there.
Yeah, it's like a wiki, really, isn't it? It's so deep, and the fact that he keeps it so up to date as well is fantastic, because the amount of effort it must take is.
I know.
Yeah, he's to be applauded, I think.
Yeah.
By the pet head community.
Yep. Should be. And he always has fun polls you can vote in.
Yes, every Sunday.
Oh, so that's interesting, that the line that you referenced, then it has more than one double meaning. It has triple meaning, perhaps.
Triple meaning.
Very good.
I've always thought that this song has the kind of vocal that casual fans think can be found on every single Pet Shop Boys record. Like mellow to the point of being deadpan and like really low energy.
Yeah, it's almost like he's singing in a stage whisper.
Yeah, and I think people who aren't huge fans but just sort of know of them imagine that like every that he sings like this on every song. There's always someone who seems surprised when Neil sings with like emotion. Oh, I didn't know they did this. I've never heard him sing like this before. Drives me nuts.
I think early on, though, as well, there is something to be said for him not having confidence as a vocalist that he does now, because they hadn't really toured particularly much. He hadn't learned how to sing live. And his voice has got better with age, I think. Early on, there was more spoken stuff, and it just didn't seem a confidence in the vocals as much as there is later on.
Do we have anything else for this song?
No. So what have we got next? It's domino dancing.
Thought that when we fought, I was to blame. Now I know you play a different game. I've watched you dance with danger, still wanting more. Add another number to the score. All day. Watch them all fall down. All day. Domino dancing. All day. Watch them all fall down.
That's a good slice of Pet Shop Boys pop there. It's an interesting single as well, Domino Dancing, isn't it? Because it saw a sort of turning point in their career, according to Neil Tennant.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, this is the one that kind of broke their imperial phase, as he would say.
Oh, that makes me so sad that that's how he thinks about this song, because I love this song so much when it came out. Like I said before, I wore out my first 45 7-inch single with this. The song is so good. And he identifies it with the end of a good era and the start of a less successful era.
Yeah, it's sad, isn't it? Because I'd agree with you. I think it's a really kind of classic Pet Shop Boys song. And again, another example of them doing something very brave, saying, well, what do people expect us to sound like? Well, they expect us to be electronic and to be minimal or whatever. And then to suddenly go, okay, well, we'll do something that sounds like some kind of Latin freestyle song.
That seemingly came out of nowhere. Is like, you never would have expected that.
No, not at all.
He's saying that this is the end of the Imperial phase. This song had a top 10 showing in 14 countries around the world. It was number 1 in Finland and Spain, number 7 in the UK. Here in the US, it was number 22. But it was a top 10 song in 14, 15, 16, 17 countries total. And he's looking at it as the end of the imperial phase.
I think it's because looking back, you can say, well, that was the point where we didn't have a number one again. From that point onwards, there were no more number ones in the UK. So it feels like that's the tipping point, probably.
Wow, I always assumed something from Very would have been a number one song. I didn't know that.
Yeah, Go West was almost there, but unfortunately, there were no more number ones after that.
Wow. I was surprised to see that it peaked at number 22 in the US because our local radio station in this area, they didn't play it at all. So I just sort of assumed it was like a big disappointment in the United States.
Well, I saw that number 22 being the mainstream rock chart and that it was actually 18.
Oh, 18.
On the Hot 100.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and that, of course, it did better in the club play chart where it got to number 5. But yeah, still, I agree with you. I don't remember hearing this song on the radio very much. So 18, really, you'd think we would have heard it more.
But in truth, this was actually their last song to rank higher than number 60 in the United States. They never had a song go higher than 60 after this.
That is so depressing.
Yeah.
Now I feel like Neil did.
I know. I was yelling at him before for being depressed, but now I've depressed myself.
Oh, man.
I mean, and is it also partly not necessarily a fault of theirs that electronic music was going out of fashion, and they were, even though this song isn't a classic slice of electronic pop by any means, they were very much still identified as a synth pop duo, and by the end of the 80s, that was starting to go a bit out of fashion, possibly. So
right.
they just weren't on the cutting edge of music for a lot of fickle pop fans.
Yeah. What do you think about the idea that it could have been the time of year that this song was released? You know, the fact that it didn't come out until September, and it has that summertime feel to it, even though Brian has identified this song as a winter album for him. This song just screams summertime to me, and yet it was out in September. You know, maybe it was just not as well received because of that.
I wonder. I mean, I've never thought of songs that's never influenced my personal like or dislike of a song that it doesn't feel like it fits the season. I don't think music has to, for me personally. It's like, well, you either like it or you don't. But everything about it, the sound, the sort of Latin sound, and the packaging of it with the shots of them on the beach or in front of the hotels, it is all very summery, and so there is a slight disconnect there, but whether that would impact on chart position, I doubt it.
I've always felt that Blue Monday was a hit because it was released on a Monday.
Okay. All right.
And the sky was very blue that day as well.
Even in Manchester. So Andrew quite fittingly talked up the fact that this was a Latin kind of freestyle song, and that's certainly due to the producer on this song, who is not Trevor Horn, but in fact was Louis Martinet, who lived in Miami and had produced a lot of hits for the group Exposé. And we talked about them in Information Society episodes when we were talking about freestyle music.
Yeah, I mean, that sound was really popular, wasn't it, at that time? And that's what I like about the Pet Shop Boys, that they do they sample everything that's around them, really, and they're not afraid to experiment in that way. So the fact that they tried a freestyle track is really good, an interesting thing to do. There is one particular song that he produced for Exposé that sounds very similar to this, and I can't remember the name of it. I remember when I was at the Pet Shop Boys Symposium in Edinburgh a couple of years ago, someone did a lecture about it and about how that song had been the one particular song that had influenced them to work with Louis Martinet, and I remember hearing it and thinking, wow, yeah, it is very, very similar.
Oh, really? I'll have to hunt that down.
I'm wondering, I can think of two songs off the bat, and I'm wondering if it might be Let Me Be the One.
I wouldn't remember the name. I'd know if I heard it.
Yeah, that or Come Go With Me were two of their very big hits. We'll go listen to some Exposé and figure it out, right?
See if it
I will.
Yeah, why don't you do that?
I'll go do that.
I don't want to subject myself to too much expose.
Oh, good. You don't want to expose yourself to too much expose?
Yeah.
All right, then.
So people say that the fact that they were working with this particular producer, that's why there are a lot of outside musicians on this track, way more than you're used to seeing on a Pet Shop Boys record.
Yeah, a lot of Cuban studio musicians participated.
And you have a group called The Voice in Fashion providing those all day vocals.
Yeah, they had already worked with Louis in the past.
And they signed to EMI just around this time, so they were actually on the Pet Shop Boys label. And I saw that in 2012, they went on to release their own version of this song.
Oh, did they?
Yep.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So that's where we're getting those nice all day vocals that Andrew likes so much.
Yeah, and I like them too. And I think those just kind of beg to be sung out in a stadium, with an audience. That's such an easy thing for everyone. Just call and response all day. Like, yep. I think that's wonderful.
And do you have any information on the sleeve for this song, Andrew? Because I always sort of like this picture sleeve.
Yeah, it was a very, it's almost like an anti-style statement, really, isn't it? Because there's no typography on it, and the design of it is incredibly minimal. It's just basically a photograph, and it's not even a particularly well-shot photograph.
Nope. The colors aren't very good.
Yeah, it's a holiday snap, isn't it, really?
Yep.
With them in their shorts.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was taken by Pete Andreas, wasn't it?
Yes.
He shot it on a Polaroid, and it was one of several pictures that were taken during that period. Another of the images appeared on the limited edition 12-inch remix as well, and it had that same awkward slant to it that looked, the skyline isn't horizontal, so it all looks a bit wobbly. Which in the book, the design book about the Pet Shop Boys, they talk about particularly liking that it just looks very natural and unpretentious, really.
That's a lot of how my concert photography ends up looking. I look at those pictures from the Simple Minds show. I'm like, wow, the stage is slanted. Why is that? It's not the stage, it's you.
And then the design that goes with it, when I talked earlier about designers appropriating other things like book covers or map things we mentioned earlier, all of the typography on the single was just a photograph of the mixing desk with the information about the track was just literally a photograph of it. So there's no actual traditional typography on there. It's just...
Oh, really?
Yeah, Polaroid on the front and a photograph of the mixing desk on the back.
Oh, I
doesn't get any more minimal than that, really.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, one would almost say lazy.
Ooh.
I wouldn't say that.
Well, that's what a bad critic would say. I'm not the one that's saying it. I'm saying someone else might say it.
It's not one of my favourite record covers, to be honest. But again, it's they did what they wanted to do, and I applaud them for that, really.
I always liked that the band said Latin American Party on it.
I know.
I was like, oh, wait a second. Did it mean Latin American Party, like political party?
I don't know.
Or did it mean you could rent a Latin American party and drive around?
That's what I've always assumed. And then as I just said it out loud, I was like, oh, maybe it didn't mean you could get this van for a party. I don't know. That's weird. I'm such an idiot.
No, I have no idea what it meant.
Just noticed as well, those orange stripes are very like the orange stripes in front of the van. There's, if you look at the sleeve, there's like a hazard stripes that look very much like the pointy hats that would appear a few years later.
Uh-huh.
Joining the design dots.
Yeah, very good.
So speaking of dots, there's dots on dominoes, guys.
Oh, yeah, there sure are. Well done.
And Neil said that when we had been in Antigua playing dominoes, our friend Pete would do a dance when he won. And Chris said to him, "Stop doing your domino dance." And I wrote that in my notebook. Watch them all fall down, domino dancing.
That's one of the theories, isn't it? There's another theory that when it came out in 1988, it was the height of the AIDS crisis. There's a theory around it that it's actually about that itself. The falling over is kind of representing people dying, and watch them all fall down. And I think it can be read in that way. And
I definitely think it can. And I was not aware of that till I did my research here for the show.
As well as in the remix that I mentioned that has a different photograph, Neil Tennant speaks a line of Spanish in it, which is Te vas a quemar, which I asked my friend Allman in Costa Rica to translate for me. So thank you for that, Allman. Which translates as "you're going to get burned," which is basically playing with fire. So there's another subject that sort of feeds into that theory about the allusion to AIDS.
Dancing with danger too many times.
Yeah.
Wayne Studer's site says that Neil reportedly claimed that this was their Numbers, a 1983 track by Soft Cell about casual sex. He said that Neil actually said that in an interview one time.
Yeah, there you go. So that's the confirmation, isn't it? I prefer it to Numbers by Soft Cell.
Oh, dear.
But yeah. I mean, that song is exactly about that. Even the title suggests. So it makes a very happy sounding song into something a bit sad. But that's something that they've done many times before.
Oh yeah. Well, let's talk about the music in this song.
Okay.
There are orchestra hits galore in this song. Oh my goodness.
Pet Shop Boys are masters of the orchestra hit.
This one is so full of orchestra hits. If I had to have a drink for each orchestra hit in this song, I would be passed out by the end. Oh, I love it. It's wonderful.
It's another "we've got a Fairlight and we're going to use it."
Right.
And musically, these extra live musicians, they make a great impact. I think it has really good upbeat energy to it. And to my ear, this is a perfect melody. I never, ever get tired of singing along with this song. This is a song that I never skip, and anytime I hear it, I can't help but sing along. I think every aspect, verses and chorus and all day, those are all so much fun to sing.
I agree. Yeah, it is very catchy.
And another thing I love is the lyrics. I think there's some great lines in here. I've watched you dance with danger, still wanting more. That verse is great. And I love that spoken word section with the acoustic guitar when you look around your window.
Yeah, that's really nice.
And here's the song where I once again have to say, saxophone shows up. Saxophone sounds great. I'm glad it's here. Saxophone is a really good instrument. I never should have badmouthed it.
Well, there's a lot of horns in this, and
Yeah, there
not
are,
just
but-
saxophone, all kinds of good horns.
There's a saxophone part in the center there after the acoustic guitar, I think, where it's
Okay.
highlighted.
Okay.
It's a really long song, although actually, no, it's not the longest on the album, but it doesn't
no.
feel like it's 7 minutes 40. It feels, I'm aware that the single version must be a lot shorter, but I suppose I've only ever listened to the album version. It feels like the definitive version, but that bit later on where it breaks down and goes all very cut up and staccato,
Right.
I really like that bit of it.
Oh, I love that part.
Yeah. Kind of like machine gun percussion sounds, and
Yeah.
it's like the song is being chopped up, perhaps.
Yeah,
That's
and the remix version builds on that. It's much closer to that bit of the song, so maybe we should finish on that remix.
Okay.
No, sorry, I don't mean finish now. I mean, you know, when you play your music.
we both looked at each other like, what?
No, you know, at the end of the show when you play music.
Oh, right, yeah.
Because it's quite an obscure mix as well, so people might like to hear that.
Oh, sure.
That's cool. I always try to do something that people may not have heard at the end.
Yeah.
And then I cut it short. I always cut it short so they are left wanting more.
Oh, nice pull.
Just because we haven't said it, we've talked about all the other instruments. We once again, like in I Want a Dog, we get some great piano playing in this one.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, a lot
Yeah.
of fun. Yeah, I get a feeling in this section, in the middle section of this song, where they do break it down, this is much more of a experimentation kind of or letting the other various instruments shine for a little while. All those different musicians are having their turn, and it's really cool.
And once again, going back to just Neil's voice, people claiming that he doesn't sing with emotion. I hear a ton of anger coming from him in this song when he's singing. And I think the anger works regardless of how you interpret the song. If it's because he has a partner who's cheating on him and so hot that everybody wants this partner, or the anger that, you know, he's powerless to stop this disease from killing so many people. Either way, I hear anger in his voice in this track. Sarah gave me sort of a weird look when I said that. But that's what I hear.
Well, it sounds like we are done talking about the song, so why don't we talk about the video? We've kind of mentioned it a little bit earlier, so let's talk more about it now.
I was delighted to watch this video again. I wasn't looking forward to it, but I was happy when I did, because in my memory, I didn't think the Pet Shop Boys were in it at all. Like, I remembered when I saw it, I still remember the day I first saw this.
Oh, wow.
Back when I was in high school, I was at my high school girlfriend's house, and we had MTV on, which I always turned on MTV at her house because I didn't have it. And then I would never want to go anywhere or do anything, which would always start a fight. So this was coming on, so I was like, we have to stay and watch it. Since that day, I remember like, oh, I don't like that video. The Pet Shop Boys aren't even in it. But they are in it. I don't know what I was thinking. All these years I haven't watched it because I thought they weren't in it. So,
Well, they're not in it a lot, but
no, but
yeah.
they are. They are. And
They are in it.
they're acting, I mean, Neil's acting moody and like very cool, and Chris is out on the DJ floor.
Yeah, I like seeing him play DJ.
Me too. So this was a really good video. I'm sad that I could have been watching it for 30 years.
Well, yeah.
There's a lot of distractions in it, though, aren't there?
Yeah, there are some distractions.
There's a lot of quite attractive people in this video,
Yeah.
which is one of the things that made it controversial. But yeah, there's lots of beautiful men and women in it.
Yeah, very much so. And lots of slow motion of watching these people walk around in, very dramatic ways.
So you can appreciate how good they look.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is a really good video. It's got a storyline to it.
Yeah.
It's a setting that, we're not used to seeing this setting, so it's interesting to watch.
Right.
Like Andrew said, the people in it all look fantastic. The only thing I don't like in it, and I remembered this scene when I saw it, I was like, oh yeah, I remember this. I don't like this. I don't like that the one guy, when he goes to confront the other man that the girl is interested in, I don't like how he slaps his hard hat off his head.
Oh.
For some reason that bothers me. I don't know.
Was he being too mean?
I don't know. It seems like he should have pushed with two hands, pushed his chest, or just not touched him until he was ready to throw a punch. I don't know.
There is a weirder bit in the video, though, the bit with the voyeur near the end.
Oh.
Do you remember that bit?
Is he the guy who runs his finger down his mouth and down his face?
Yeah, he's sort of looking at the beautiful woman who's reading a magazine. He kind of creeps his way around the door and salaciously looks out and licks his fingers.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing really happens with him.
Yeah.
But I guess
And-
that just goes back to like Neil talking about how the partner in the song, they're so fantastically attractive that people are falling down in love with them all the time. They're bowling people over and stuff.
like dominoes.
Yeah. So I guess that's what that's just we're seeing the
Yeah.
one particular instance of that, and it just happens that the guy is creepy and completely disgusting looking.
Yeah.
In the audio commentary for the video, they talk about that, and I think they both describe it as a bit creepy. So, oh, what's happening here? But I think Eric Watson definitely made up for the Left to My Own Devices video with this one, because it's so much more interesting in every way, isn't it? The location, the way it's shot, the fact that it's got a narrative. It makes up for the nonsense that was Left to My Own Devices.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's very enjoyable to watch, very entertaining, and it's got, of course, great music behind it as well.
I looked up the girl. Her name is Donna Botman.
Oh,
And I was like, she's really pretty. I'm sure she went on to do a lot of things. She did not. On both IMDb and IMVDB, this is the only thing listed for her. I was surprised.
that's a shame.
I think in the commentary, Neil Tennant says what she went on to do. It wasn't anything in film, I'm sure. I can't remember what it was.
Oh, really?
But
I'll
he
check
did.
that out.
He did mention that. Yeah.
Well, did you read that someone who is now famous was in this video?
Yes, I did.
Do you remember who it was?
I do remember who it is, but I'll let you tell us.
Okay.
Oh yes, I do.
Yeah. Someone
who's really
Yes.
famous.
He's pretty darn
Yeah.
famous. Ricky Martin was an extra in this film. He was in the background somewhere at some point. He should have been one of the main guys, I think. But, well, I guess the two main guys that were in it were good.
Yeah. So I really like this video now. I feel bad that I've thought so ill of it for so long. It's a really good clip.
Yeah, I enjoyed it too.
But what about the perceived impact that it had on their career then?
Yeah, that's
I know. There is that.
the fact that I just mentioned they never had a top 60 hit again in the United States.
Uh-huh.
They say it's that the veiled homoeroticism in the video sort of turned off their American audience.
I don't know if I agree with it. I mean, obviously, I can't speak for an American audience, but I think you see what you want to see in this video. There's beautiful men in it, there's beautiful women in it, the Pet Shop Boys are in it, there's beaches in it, there's people on bicycles in it. I just think it's an interesting piece of film, and I think you read what you want really with it. There isn't any overt sexuality in it. The narrative between the two men is that they're fighting in the video, and
Right.
I think it's just the fact that at one point they have no shirts on. Is that enough to turn a whole fan base against
No.
them? I think it's a
It's
bit
not
of a
like-
rewrite of history, really, to simplify it in that way.
Yeah.
I think what you said earlier about the taste in music changing at the later 80s, early
Yeah.
90s, I think that probably had more to do with it than
Yeah.
the video.
And I wonder whether if it had been another band that wasn't gay, if it had been the Simple Minds had done a video with two men fighting in it, would it have been read in the same way? Are people projecting that onto it because of who the Pet Shop Boys were and some of the themes that they were covering in their songs?
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Right. That's a good question. I think it's, again, kind of people deciding that must be it after the fact.
Yeah.
Pretty sad because this is a good clip and that was an amazing single that deserved it did really well most places, but it deserved to do better here in the United States. As always, I'm disappointed in our taste in music.
Yeah,
Seems like I'm always saying that.
I know.
You were born in the wrong country.
I think you're right.
for sure. Over the weekend, I said, what are your top 3 American acts? Because we hardly have any American music in our collection. It's like pretty pathetic, actually.
I managed to think of 2 American acts that I really, really love, and then I couldn't think of a third. So then Sarah said, "Oh, what about Blondie?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, I love Blondie."
Yeah.
I couldn't think of 3 on my own, but with help, I came up with 3.
That says something, doesn't it?
Well, I guess that's the end of the first side of the album.
It is.
That's pretty good. It only took us 2 hours and 36 minutes.
I have a feeling some editing is in store.
It's we're so much longer than the actual first side of the album.
That's so true. The whole album, actually.
So, Andrew, thank you very much for sitting in with us for this marathon session. I love talking to
Thank
Pet
you.
Shop Boys, and I love talking to Pet Shop Boys with you.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure, and I look forward to flipping it over and checking out the other side.
Oh, it should be good. There's some good songs on that side, too.
I'm not scared of it.
Oh, very good.
And, hey, I want to take this opportunity here at the end to congratulate Heath once again for guessing Blondie Call Me on Sarah's Secret Song Snippet Song of the Week last week. Good job, since we just mentioned Blondie. And because Sarah did such a bad job of remembering what her song snippet was, I'm taking control of it this week. So here is Sarah's Secret Song Snippet as selected by me. And this is your song for this week. Listen carefully. Be the first person to tell me the artist and name of the song, and you will be the winner. Listen carefully. This is your song. And I'll play it one more time. So that's it, everybody. That's your song snippet for the week. Let me know what you think that is. Before we leave, I just want to remind everybody once again, we have our new voicemail number where you can call us and let us know your thoughts on Introspective.
Right.
If you have any great memories of Introspective, call and let us know. We'd love to hear from you. And we'd like to include you on the podcast as well. We do a lot of talking, so it'd be nice to have you contribute a little bit. You can reach us at 724-490-8324. And we also like to remind you, if you enjoyed the show, maybe take a second and give us a little rating or a review on iTunes. That always helps the show.
Yeah, we'd like to be able to start the next episode with reading another review or two. Thank you.
And while you're on iTunes, why not subscribe to the Art on Your Sleeve podcast, which is hosted by our friend Andrew. There's 7 episodes out there right now, and they're all really interesting, and it talks about music that you're gonna know it and you're gonna love it. It's a great podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you for doing it. All right, folks, so we're out of here. We'll see you again in a week's time, and we want to thank you from all of us for listening this week, and we hope you enjoyed our Talk of Pet Shop Boys.
Talk to you next week.
Oh, sorry, I need to say goodbye as well, don't I?
Yep.
Bye-bye.